Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're really getting into something fundamental.
Hmm.
It's about how teams work best, you know? Especially when things are complex, moving fast. We're diving into the very first value of the Agile Manifesto.
That's right. This one's all about individuals and interactions over processes and tools. Sounds simple, maybe?
Yeah, seems like it.
But the material we're looking at is a video excerpt, actually, called People Over Processes, Agile's First Value. It shows there's a lot underneath. It's often, well, misunderstood.
Definitely. So our mission here for this deep dive is to unpack what that really means. What's the actual significance of that word over?
Crucial word.
And how do processes and tools even fit in? Are they just out? And maybe most importantly, how does getting this right help us build, better workplaces, especially now with things like AI coming in?
Exactly. And the source material, it starts us off with these two really different pictures of a workplace.
Right, the contrasting scenarios.
Right. Yeah. So picture one. You've got teams, they're kind of locked into these really rigid processes. They're monitored all the time, maybe even by AI systems that flag things automatically or correct them.
Feels a bit mechanical.
It's all about control, right? Perceived efficiency, but maybe at the cost of, well, human judgment being sidelined.
Yeah, very different from, say, the other scenario they paint.
Totally different. So environment too. People are actually talking, collaborating, naturally, and they're using AI, using tools, but more to handle the boring stuff, the routine tasks.
Which frees them up.
Exactly. Frees them up for the creative thinking, the problem solving that, let's face it, humans are still best at.
It's a really stark contrast when you put them side by side like that.
It is. And the source material basically asks, which place sounds better to you? Where would your team actually thrive?
And asking that really cuts straight to why this first value isn't just some abstract idea. It's intensely practical.
Couldn't agree more. So let's state it clearly. The first value of the Agile Manifesto is individuals and interactions over processes and tools.
And like we said, that little word over, it's doing a lot of heavy lifting here. The material is super clear. This doesn't mean checking out processes and tools altogether.
Not at all. No. Actually, it hammers the point home that processes and tools are vital. They're essential, like the plumbing in a building.
Right.
You need them for business agility, for handling the speed and complexity of, well, modern business. You just can't scale without them.
So they're necessary infrastructure. But the key insight, the real shift, is that these things, the processes, the tools, they must always be there to enhance human creativity and collaboration.
Right. Not replace it.
They serve the people, not the other way around.
Exactly. And the source defines Agile itself as having two sides. The culture, that's the individuals and interactions part, and practices, that's your processes and tools.
And they work together.
They have to. For real business agility, you need that synergy, culture and practices feeding each other.
It reminds me a bit of concepts from other areas like total quality management or change management. They often talk about balancing people, process, technology.
Yeah, that parallel is definitely drawn in the material. But the big difference with Agile, the thing it really emphasizes, is the priority. It puts the people side, individuals connecting, interacting right up front. That's the starting point, the ultimate driver of value.
Okay, so let's get into the weeds a bit. The deep dive talks about three common traps or misunderstandings people fall into with this value.
Yeah, and tackling these really helps clarify what it's actually about. Misconception number one is basically that Agile just doesn't value processes and tools, thinks they're bad.
Which, as we just said, isn't true at all.
Fundamentally untrue. You need them. The real problem, the source argues, isn't having them. It's when you prioritize them above the people and how they interact.
Right. They used that image, didn't they? Trying to hammer in a screw because the process says use hammer.
Exactly. That kind of misapplication. It happens when processes become rigid, when they get in the way. And apparently that's often why these big Agile transformations sometimes fail.
Because they just focus on the process part.
Yeah, they roll out the new process, the new tool, but they don't enable the human interaction needed to actually make it work.
Got it. Okay, so that's misconception one. What's the second one?
The second is thinking that an Agile transformation is just about adopting a specific framework like Scrum or Kanban, which are essentially collections of processes and tools.
Right, we see that a lot. Teams get the new meetings, the new software, but fundamentally how they work together, how they talk, that doesn't change much.
Precisely. And the argument here is that successful change has to start with the people stuff first. The interaction patterns, the collaboration dynamics.
That's what makes the framework actually effective.
Yes. If you just slap processes and tools onto a culture that hasn't shifted, you end up with what the source calls hollow implementations.
Looks agile on the surface.
But you don't get the results because that crucial human foundation, it wasn't addressed.
Okay, so don't ignore processes, don't just adopt frameworks, was number 3.
The third one tackles this idea that, look, sometimes processes and tools simply have to come first, like due to strict regulations. Compliance.
Yeah, I can see that argument. Yeah, especially in finance or healthcare, right? You have rules, you just have to follow.
It feels compelling, doesn't it? But the material offers a really interesting counter. Regulators, generally speaking, care that you meet the requirements. They don't usually dictate exactly how you have to do it.
So they leave the how open.
Pretty much. They often avoid prescribing exact methods to keep the companies accountable, but also to allow for, well, innovation.
Which means there's room to find agile-friendly ways to comply.
Absolutely. The source gives specific examples like HIPAA in healthcare or KYC, know your customer in finance.
Okay.
Instead of creating piles of separate documents just for auditors, which is often slow and painful.
Yeah, very burdensome.
Teams can simply tag the relevant work items or data right within their normal workflow systems.
So the proof is just embedded in the work itself.
Exactly. Then, come audit time, you just extract the items with that tag. It simplifies everything, cuts down overhead massively.
And crucially, it doesn't disrupt the team's flow.
Right. It shows that even strict processes can be designed to serve the people doing the work, not hinder them.
That's a great example. It really brings the principle to life. And speaking of principles, the deep dive connects this to something called Chesterton's fence.
Yeah, it's a really useful analogy here. The idea isn't just to tear down every process you don't like on impulse.
No wrecking ball approach.
No, it's about pausing, asking some critical questions before you change anything.
Like, why is this process even here? Or what was it originally supposed to do?
And crucially, does it still actually do that? Is it still serving a useful purpose?
Okay, and if the answer is yes.
Then you look at streamlining it, automating it maybe, reducing the friction it causes for people trying to interact.
But if the answer is no, if it's just there out of habit,
then you can remove it. The key is it's thoughtful. It's based on understanding, not just reaction.
And this ties into how we think about value, doesn't it? The material challenges the whole idea of what productivity even means.
Big time. It's not just about being busy, is it? Sitting at your desk, typing constantly.
No.
There's this great personal story in the source about someone getting their best ideas, these real breakthroughs, while just walking around some campus lakes.
Moments that maybe an AI monitoring system would flag as unproductive.
Exactly. No keyboard activity, right?
Yeah.
But that's where the real innovation happened. In those moments of reflection, connection.
So true productivity, it's measured differently. It's about the value you create, the problems you solve through interaction, not just ticking boxes in a process.
Precisely. So putting it all together, what does living this value look like day to day, according to this deep dive?
Well, it sounds like using AI, sure, but using it to automate the grunt work, freeing people up to collaborate.
Yes. And talking to audit and compliance folks early on, designing compliance into the workflow, not layering it on top afterwards.
Replacing static documents with, like, live data tagging in your systems for transparency.
Mm-hmm. And always asking that question about existing processes. Is this actually helping us?
Yeah.
Or is it just there?
The material also gives us some warning signs, right? Things to watch out for in our own teams.
Yeah, definitely. Like if your tools or maybe even your AI systems start making people feel more like cogs in a machine than, creative humans.
That's a red flag.
Big one. Or if your processes feel like they're constantly putting up barriers, actively stopping people from just talking to each other and solving problems.
Then the balance is probably off.
Very likely.
Yeah.
It suggests the processes and tools have kind of taken over, gained priority over the individuals and interactions.
And interestingly, it points out that AI, used correctly, could actually make fixing this easier than before. Automating, streamlining.
Yeah, the potential's there. The overall goal, as the source puts it, is creating workplaces where people and tools are really working in harmony.
Right. Environments where teams don't just follow orders, but they actually thrive, innovate, which loops us right back to that powerful question for you, the listener. When you look at your own work, your team, are your tools and processes really supporting you? Or have they somehow become the things holding you back, the shackles?
It's definitely a question worth sitting with for a bit.
So wrapping up this deep dive, the main takeaway seems pretty clear. That first Agile value, individuals and interactions over processes and tools. It's all about putting the human element first.
Yeah, but not, crucially, by throwing out processes and tools. They're vital, necessary for agility, but they have to serve people, enhance collaboration, not block it.
And it means seeing past those common traps, thinking Agile ignores process,
Yeah.
or that transformation is just getting a new framework, or that compliance always means rigid process first.
Right. It encourages that thoughtful approach, doesn't it? Like applying Chesterton's fence. Understand why before you change or remove something. Make sure it supports the people.
And maybe even rethinking what we mean by productive.
Yeah.
It's not just activity, it's value created through people connecting effectively.
And you mentioned the source video itself. It actually presents a slightly adapted version of the manifesto, aiming for more universal application beyond just software.
Yeah, which shows how broadly these ideas can apply.
Absolutely. And that video, it's a great resource. The creator apparently keeps the description updated with links, related videos, the adapted text.
So we definitely encourage you listening to check out that source video, explore the links in the description there. It's a really good way to continue your own deep dive.
Yeah, definitely worth a look. Think about those warning signs we talked about. Reflect on your own context.
Maybe ask yourself that question. Are your tools helping or hindering?
A good place to start.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.